I got to know on the phone anyway, Brian De Palma's assistant. And so his assistant was vaguely down with setting me up with an interview because he was in town. He was shooting at Universal. They were shooting Scarface. So he was in town and he was at Universal. They were shooting on the sound stages at Universal for a lot of stuff. So he was right there. And so there was talk. There was negotiations. There was talk about getting me on the set of Scarface. Can you imagine getting on the set of Scarface? There was talk about me being on the set of Scarface and actually having watching him work for a little bit and then talking to and doing an interview with him, which if that had happened, I might never have been a filmmaker because I might have just committed suicide after. And it never happened. It never happened. But I even remember when, it was done. It wasn't going to happen. And he was a nice guy about it. He was like, well, I'm sorry, Quentin, we couldn't get it together. It didn't happen.
Well, part of that is all just like the function of having heroes, and so like for instance, when I was I'm still now he's one of my favorite filmmakers, but like in particular when I was in my 20s, I loved Brian De Palma, all right, and I would just like obsess about like his stuff the way like any like big fan would obsess about either a movie star or a baseball star or whatever. Is like when his movies would come out, I'd be counting down the days to like the first show of his movie. Scarface would open and I would go see the first show first day. All right, no one could go with me. I didn't want anyone else to. It was too like it was like a religious experience. And I didn't want anyone to I didn't care what anyone thought. All right. I just sit there and watch the movie. All right, that's sort of like just kind of taking it in, seeing all what the story was and everything. Then I would go see the midnight show that night. And then I'd kind of like somebody to see it with me. All right, and then I could really watch, okay, I've got the story, I got the film, now let's see how he did it.
Richard Franklin had everything going against him when he did the Psycho 2 sequel, because in a strange way, back in that time in the 80s, Psycho was even more revered than it is now, and Hitchcock was definitely more revered than he is now. By the 80s, Hitchcock was treated like some sort of cinematic saint. So the idea of remaking a Hitchcock film, or the idea, even though there was quite a few of them out there, The 39 Steps had just been remade, The Lady Vanishes had just been remade. Yeah, well, the idea of remaking, but especially sequelizing, people talked about it like sacrilege. I mean, to the degree, I think I remember on the Tom Snyder show, a three-way conversation between David Cronenberg, Jeanette Schwartz, and John Carpenter. And they're talking about the state of horror films, and then they mention, what do you think about the Psycho sequel coming out? And they were like, I wouldn't touch that, I wouldn't touch it. Well, you're gonna try to be better than Hitch? Forget about it. I did not feel that way. One, because I'm not as enamored with Hitchcock as everybody else is, nor am I overly enamored with Psycho. But I was enamored with Richard Franklin. He was my favorite of all the Australian directors. He was the Australian Hitchcock. Customers love that stuff. So whenever we got a Hitchcockian type of movie, but there was a new movie, we always pushed it. Well, Road Games was one of the best. So the idea that Richard Franklin was now he's got the opportunity to do the second story. And I met Richard Franklin at the time that he was making the movie. I asked him, I go, what are your ambitions for the movie? I mean, it does seem like everybody wants it to fail. Everyone, like, they resent it. They think it's sacrilege. How are you handling that? He goes, well, people are going to say whatever they're going to say, but hopefully when they see the movie, they'll feel different. I go, well, what are your hopes for it? He goes, well, my hopes for it is that you like the first movie and that you'll like the second movie. And maybe 10 years from now or 15 years from now, you'll think about a scene from one or the other one, but you won't exactly remember which one you were thinking about because it's just all the Norman Bates story. And that's what he did. He didn't just interject, okay, Norman Bates, the killer, is back. He made it the Norman Bates story. And Norman Bates was the actual hero of the story. And I think, not only do I think Anthony Perkins is even better, as great as he is in Psycho, I think he's even better in Psycho 2. I think it's one of the great lead performances in any horror film ever made, his performance in Psycho 2. I mean, it's just a magnificent performance. You bought a ticket to see a boogeyman, and now, I mean, from the moment he shows up with Robert Loggia, who normally is so abrasive and is like the best, is like the coolest psychiatrist in the history of movies. In that movie, you're like, Robert Loggia? Yeah, really, he is. But when the minute they show up and they talk and everything, all of a sudden now you are rooting for Norman. You're rooting for Norman to keep it together. You're rooting for Norman to be sane, to be happy. You're actually rooting for him to be happy. And now you don't want any of the horror stuff to happen. And me and my friends, we liked it so much that, like, we got into a passionate discussion about it afterwards. And you know what? He would have been okay. If that damn bitch would have left him alone, he would have been okay. Well, I saw everything, and in particularly in the 80s, you didn't think that way about high school movies because the people in it were your age or older. They were, the Cages are around my age, so I'm not thinking, oh, that's too young for me. I could actually play that role. I think we both were kind of Shaggy Dog kind of guys. I'm not saying I was as sexy as him, but we were both kind of Shaggy Dog kind of guys. I was actually, both me and him have actually thought we'd be good brothers in a movie at some point. But yeah, no, we've talked about acting together more than anything else. It just never happened. I didn't go to high school. I dropped out of junior high in like 9th grade, So the minute I saw those clicks start was about right when I just said, I'm out of here. So the whole kind of thing of like, Hollywood versus the Valley, or white privileged school versus urban blight decay school. I don't know what was going on with that stuff. But Valley Girl was special for this for a couple different reasons. It was especially special out here in California because it's a California movie. No, it's not exactly my life because I guess you're right. I'm a couple years past that. In a way that well, again. Like, Valley Girl wasn't about school. So, like, for example, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, going to school out in California, I went to a black school and I went to a white school. Okay, the white school was exactly like Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So I definitely did respond to that. Now, the thing that's so special about Valley Girl is the music it plays is exactly the KROQ lineup when that KROQ new wave music just broke and it became the station. And Valley Girl had all those songs during the years that they premiered. So it's not a look back. It's not like, okay, let's look back in 1983 and let's come up with the perfect KROQ soundtrack that would be great for that time. No, they used it at that time. Those songs, when you went and saw Valley Girl, those songs were still on the radio. And they kind of do an okay version of it. It seems like a movie version of the song, though. I really got to push back against that. No, okay. That's Moon Zappa who did all that in the song. Her shit was on point, and it sounded like a new language, and it kind of blew everyone's mind. The movie is them trying to talk like that. It's not coming. It doesn't have the same authenticity as Moon Zappa does in her raps in the song. And that's just my opinion. So I saw it when it came out and I liked it. I have to say though, I really liked Nick Cage in it. It didn't hit me what a zeitgeist movie it was then. I don't think I'd quite realized the effect yet of the KROQ music. And the moment even wasn't over, but it was still too close to the moment to actually realize what an effect they did. Those songs weren't quite as iconic to me as they would become. But then also, when I realized that the movie really was onto something, there was a little $1.50 movie theater that was in the South Bay called the Marina 3. It was in Redondo Beach. So all of a sudden, I'm noticing that Valley Girl, because it's a dollar movie theater. The movies do what they're going to do all over town, and they on their way out of town, they stop at this theater, and so they play there 1 week, maybe 2 weeks. Valley Girl has been playing there for 5 weeks already, and then I just kind of decide to see it again, and so I go and see it again, and the audience is full of young people. It's like Saturday or Sunday, and like I said, I'm 20, so I'm a young person. And we're all laughing, and I'm realizing, they're holding on to Valley Girl because Valley Girl is doing really well. And people are seeing it for like the second time at the Marina 3, and they really love it. And so a lot of kids on dates, a lot of groups of girls, a lot of groups of boys. And that's when I realized, oh, this movie really is talking to the subculture that it's making the movie for. And it ended up playing there like 9 weeks. Because it did good. So it was just people kept going to see it. They would change the other movie it was playing with, but they'd keep Valley Girl. Well, there was not that I was Mr. Date, but I mean, yeah, but there, especially if there's a young people movie like a Valley Girl, you might want to see. Yeah, that would be your Saturday night. You go see that. I don't like it that much. All right, I like it. I like it for the piece of pop culture real estate that it has.